You're all set, Chairperson.
Okay, so I call this joint school collaboration city council subcommittee meeting to order at 6:05. I guess we're doing attendance now.
Thank you, Chairperson. Subcommittee Member Mendoza. Subcommittee Member Hernandez.
Present.
Subcommittee Member Alvarez.
Present.
Subcommittee Member Lopez. Chairperson Torres.
Present.
You have a quorum, Chairperson.
Thank you. If I can defer to Superintendent Almendares for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely. If we can all stand and put your hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you so much. Next we have public comments, presentations. I think, is it by hand raises or is there a list?
It is by hand raises, Chairperson, and we do have one hand raised. It's Mr. Carl Benninger. Mr. Benninger, you have 3 minutes for your comment. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, committee chairman. I appreciate this opportunity. What I'm really asking for again is that we're allowed for the neighborhood associations to meet within the schools. We've been very successful working with the principals, but we really should get an MOU or whatever we need to make this happen. We've done this for 30 years without a problem. And so obviously we've proven that we're successful, and I've heard all the pros and cons for the last 6 months, but really we need to get half our neighborhoods that have not been able to meet again. Our model in Comlink is improving neighborhoods block by block. And that's really what we do by having the meetings. And it's beneficial both to the schools and the city that we have good, strong neighborhood associations. So any way you can make this happen, we appreciate it. Thank you. And I do have to add, I may have to scoot. I have a house full of guests. My 2 children, one out of state, are in town, and my daughter-in-law, who's Vietnamese, has ordered a Vietnamese meal for us tonight. So.
Aww.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Benninger. At this point in time, Chairperson, there are no other public comments.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your comments, and keep coming back and reminding us of what you're advocating for. We are on, I believe, the consent calendar items.
That is correct, Chairperson. I would need just a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of July 11th and any excused absences for today.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dr. Alvarez. Do I have a second? I can make the second. Can we will we do this roll call or?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Okay, so roll call vote. Dr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez? Councilmember Hernandez?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
We're just approving the consent calendar.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm a yes, so it's 3-1. We are good to go on that one. For business calendar, we have 3 items. We have the graduate profile presentation. We have the crossing guard discussion and a neighborhood association meeting discussion again. So we're going to go to the graduate profile presentation. I believe that is Mr. Almendares.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Looks good.
Okay, let me begin by just thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to share the work that has been done by our community on the graduate profile. As you know, we've been through some pretty challenging years the past couple of years. And as a result of that, began to have conversations, thought it was a good idea to bring our community together to have a discussion around best practices, like I mentioned last year. with partnership of NCE, which is National Center for Economics and Education, they help facilitate and guide our about 80 community leaders through a process, about a 6-month process that allowed us to look at current research, reflect on the research of highly effective educational organizations across the globe, and look inside internally to see what characteristics, if any, that Santa Ana Unified District possessed. So it all started back in 2020 when the board identified board priorities. And you can see the 5 board priorities here that was collectively identified by the Board of Education through workshops that we held in 2020. Student achievement being one of them, the social-emotional wellness being the other, public health, family and community engagement, and then internally the organization efficiency and effectiveness. And that was to work on our internal systems in order to be able to support our school sites more effectively. So these are our 5 board priorities that every decision we make, every activity we engage in reflects the values and the priorities that the board has established. A little bit about our graduate profile, and let me see. There's a slide missing here. Okay, I'll just start here. So these are the 8 components of the graduate profile. And I won't read them all, but the 3 that are highlighted out of the 8 are the 3 that we're asking all schools to engage with their communities, their students, and their staff in. And that is, the first one is to demonstrate mastery in literacy, numeracy, and reasoning to address real world problems in the 21st century. And so we're expecting all of our schools from the elementary all the way up to the high schools to really start to peel away the layers and identify what best practices are they're going to be using to reensure that this is taking place, and then also identify what instruments they're going to use to measure whether they're making progress or not. The second focus area out of the 8 is develop skills in college and career readiness. And we're very proud of our CTE program and the partnerships that we have with High School Link and other community partners. And we want to make sure that we not only enhance what currently exists at the high schools, but make sure that we make our parents and our communities at the middle school and at the elementary schools aware of the potential and the options that the students have when they get to high school. Because we want to create a pipeline of students that understand what the expectation is for college or career fields after work, but also are able to explore their interest in those areas. And then the third area is going to be the last one, which is architects of their own learning. And that's really an opportunity for students to give input to their school sites, to their site administrators, to their teachers about what makes meaning engaging and what makes learning engaging and what makes it meaningful to them. So their experiences are valued, and it involves real life experiences. And that's one of the things that we've heard from students the last couple of months as we did our student listening sessions. And then the other non-highlighted areas are still important. They will be worked on by all of our school sites, but there are activities and experiences that we always do, like commit to become a moral and ethical leaders. Is just a good example of student. The We Care campaign is a good example of that, and the support that we provide, the emotional, social support for our students. So the highlighted areas I just want to focus on, because that's a unilateral implementation district-wide. We should see every school making reference to those 3 highlighted areas, but then the others will be also involved in as well. The next slide, a little bit about what our student achievement goals are. And that's to focus on academics now that the pandemic is slowly transitioning behind us. As a result of what we discovered during this transition, there's a high need for socio-emotional wellness. So that area is an area that is embedded in those highlighted areas. And then our family and community engagement goal is one that is a priority. And that's, you may have seen a lot of town hall meetings. There's a budget town hall meeting coming up. We did a parents with special needs series of listening sessions. We have engaged with our students at all grade levels, elementary, middle school, and high school, in listening sessions. And that's a direct result of the Board of Education's priority to make family and community engagement a priority for Santa Ana Unified School District. The areas that are impacted, or the people that are responsible for the facilitation of this, obviously are the district leaders and principals, teachers and support staff. And then we have a variety of opportunities for our families and our community leaders to engage in this process through superintendent's advisory committees, through participation in the community town hall meetings, as well as superintendent's advisory committee, school site councils, and other potential listening sessions. Like I mentioned earlier, our parents with special needs students are all opportunities for us to engage. And then at the school site, like I mentioned earlier, school site council that helps facilitate and the spending of the money at that local level at the school site. And so we're going to be, these are just, I'm looking for the actual graduate profile that is, let me see if I could pull it up here. And here is the actual graduate profile. This is something that we are hoping that the City Council will consider adopting a resolution in support of. And we are also looking at working with our community college partners as well. And so this graduate profile here that hopefully you can see, let me widen my screen, is something that we're going to be asking our community to engage in and help us be able to facilitate implementation. And there's other technical aspects of it. I don't want to get too technical for the purpose of this presentation, but if the council would like me to come back with more specific detail on student achievement in other areas, I'd be more than happy to do that. But so far, any questions on the development or the goals that we're trying to accomplish with this profile?
Are there any questions?
I have a comment, Chair Torres.
Sure.
I want to say thank you, Director Almendarez. I would like to support this, and I'm happy to take the lead on adopting a resolution. Please send an email to my office. My email is jryanhernandez@santa-ana.org, and we can get to working on this immediately. So I look forward to your email, and I look forward to supporting the district graduate profile. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Councilmember Hernandez, do you think it would be a good idea to contact Councilmember Lopez and Mendoza for the district to contact them individually and go over this presentation?
Yes, I think that would be helpful.
They weren't here, right? So
yes, and Councilmember Mendoza did inform me that she had a issue with her calendar, unfortunately. So
yeah, and Councilmember Lopez is also not feeling well, so I feel like we should reach out to them for individual presentations, maybe.
Absolutely.
What I can offer, Ms. Torres, if I may, is I've been in communication with City Manager Ms. Ridge on this. We're working very collaboratively. Another option is for the district to go to a city council meeting and do a presentation to the entire city council, if you think that would be helpful, Councilmember Hernandez. That way
Yeah.
we get everybody at the same time, and it's, that might be another way to approach this. We would be happy to bring some of our community members that were part of this development of this process, and then do a presentation. And I'd love for you to hear from our community leaders that participated. They can share their experiences as well as some of the parents that participated in the development as well.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to hearing from you, and I'm here to help in any way that I can.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that sounds like a great idea. Dr. Alvarez, how does that sound to you?
It sounds good.
Okay, that's good. Is there any more questions on this?
None on my end. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So let's move on to the item 4, crossing guards.
Thank you,
Yes.
Chairperson Torres. At this time, Public Works Executive Director Nabil Saba with the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chairperson Alvarez, Dr. Alvarez, and Chairperson Torres, and Councilmember Hernandez. Great to see you all. And of course, Superintendent Almendez and Executive Director of Parks and Rec, Hawk Scott. I'm happy to be here, and I do have something to share with you if I can. Let me see. I've given this information to the subcommittee, I think. Let me see. What can you see?
I can see it.
You see it? Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So just a background on the crossing guard. The crossing guard program started many years ago, and it was managed by the police department. In 2022, the crossing guard program was transferred to the Public Works Agency. The city has currently funded this entire program. We have 55 crossing guards right now, covering 41 schools, serving elementary school students. Below is a breakdown of the schools that we cover. Orange Unified, we have 1 with 1 crossing guard. Garden Grove Unified, we have 7 crossing guard at 5 schools. Santa Ana Unified, we have 46 crossing guards at 34 schools. In all, like I mentioned, it's 54 crossing guards covering 40 schools. The current cost of the program is $1.3 million, and it will plan to be that way for next year, $1.3 million. Approximate cost of 1 guard is about $21,000 a year, and that's not including summer school. City Council directed staff to have a discussion of the opportunity to see if the school district would be willing to share some of the cost of this program. Some of our challenges are we are on a fixed budget, substantial increases because of insurance cost, increasing of the crossing guard themselves, the salaries, and potential reduction is possible if we can't increase the budget for the crossing guard. And I know that the school district has been asking for more and more crossing guards, which we agree with. When a crossing guard is asked at a particular location, we do a traffic warrant, which really accounts for the safety of the students crossing at that intersection. We do traffic counts, we do student counts, we do all the studies. And once the studies is done, we would come back and say, yes, a guard is required at that location or is recommended. And at that point, we start looking for funding sources and see if our current funding would allow for the addition of crossing guards. Right now, we're paying for all 54, not a question. We just recently, some of you may have been copied on a request for Romero Cruz Academy addition for a crossing guard, which we will do, and that's not a problem. But again, I would like to see if there's an opportunity for us, the city, and the Unified School District in Santa Ana to share the cost of the crossing guard. We understand that it is city streets, but also, the students are city students city students, but also students from the Unified School District here in Santa Ana. So we would love to accommodate the requests, and we know that more will be coming. The cost is increasing, insurance cost is increasing. And so I would like to, again, open the discussion, see if there is an opportunity that we can partner with the school district on funding the program or share the funding of the program. With that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this agenda item? I can't see hands.
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Almendares.
So I've been in communication with City Manager, Ms. Ridge, and we have both agreed to identify staff members that will meet and work on coming up with some options and bring those options back to our respective elected officials for further discussion. I know I was talking to Orrin Williams today, and he had mentioned that there are other areas that that potentially create some challenges for us that kind of, if we put everybody at the table together and kind of map out all of the issues that we're kind of faced with, that maybe we'll be able to, you know, find a common ground there. So I know Nabil and Hawk are two respective individuals that Christina talked about. So we're looking at scheduling something with our staff to reach out to these two gentlemen to form these committees to begin the discussion to develop and create some options that we can bring back to our respected elected officials.
Thank you. Are there any more comments or questions? I do have one question, but I wanted to see if there's any from my colleagues. Let's see.
None on my end, Chair Torres.
Okay. So Mr. Saba, do we know the reasoning behind shifting the crossing guard costs from the city police to public works?
This took place in 2020 budget year, and there was a push to kind of make the PD more efficient and basically streamline some of what PD has done in the past. And because Public Works does manage the intersections, so it was a good idea by the council to move that program from PD to Public Works.
Okay, is it because it was moved from PD to Public Works that it became on the radar a little more, or has it always been a concern for this?
You know, it may be, I'm not really sure, because why it became an issue is during the fiscal year when in 2021, just about when COVID was taking place, we found out that we had to go out to renew the contract. And by going out to renew the contract, when we inherited, Public Works inherited the program from PD, it was still with a fixed budget. That is, I want to say it was less than $1 million at that time. But when we went out to an RFP, the process, the bids came to about $1.2 million, like you see on the screen here. So as part of the renewal of the contract itself, just cost became higher, and issues with insurance and coverage was kind of brought up to the standards of what insurance should be. And our risk management has requested higher level of insurance at that point. And that led to the escalation of the cost.
And that was just based on a new assessment, or the fact that it's in a different department of the city?
I don't think it had to do with whether it was with PD or Public Works. It's just every time you go out to bid a project, new costs come in and new, I want to say, rates for employees become higher, and the insurance is renewed. So, bidders on these type of projects do the math again, and they want to be profitable too. So things
Right.
change every time you go out and bid a project.
Okay, thank you for answering those questions for me.
You're
And I
welcome.
think Mr. Almondada said that you potentially you and Mr. Scott would be meeting with our district staff.
Yes, we
kind
will.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions on comments, we're going to move to item 5, neighborhood association meetings. I don't know who's speaking on this.
Thank you, Chairperson Torres. Item number 5 is a continuation from last meeting. Chairperson Torres did have a question at the time, wanted some background information on the costs associated by neighborhood associations and the usage of community centers. Executive Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Hawk Scott, has some background information to share with you regarding that item.
Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everybody, and a pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. So we got some information for you. And this is just a continuation of what City Manager Ridge wanted to, get, information out of our, databases. And this information I'll be giving to you is, neighborhood meetings info from July 21st to, current, which, we have on here June 22nd, June 22. And it is, city provides use. So first off, the city provides use of our facilities at no cost. This information, however, it does not include other reservations that are made by nonprofit organizations, as if they want to rent those, they do have to go through a process and provide, correct documentation for that, as well as other community groups who on their end, they would need to, pay, costs associated with that. So in those time frame, we have had 35 neighborhood meetings at the city community centers. And again, those are at no cost to the neighborhood associations. And then finally, we have had 16 neighborhood associate meetings held at the Santa Ana Unified School District schools. So within the past year, we have had 51 neighborhood meetings that have gone out with no cost.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on this? And just a council member Mendoza has just logged into the meeting for the record. Any questions or comments on this item for neighborhood associations? I'll say thank you for the information. I was, and for clarifying that neighborhood associations can meet their costs free. Other groups have to go through the process. I know your city manager mentioned that last time that neighborhood associations aren't considered part of the city. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I was at the moment I was reflecting on it, but I'm still not sure what that means.
Well, I mean, a neighborhood association, like, it's a neighborhood association. It's really not, the city has its own department and structure and stuff like that. I mean, they're kind of like, I guess you could say maybe a spinoff, but they are a part of the city at the same time. And, we're here for our neighborhoods because, like I said, all our neighborhoods do pay, their tax and everything. So it's kind of like a little branch where they can come use the facilities as long as, they are part of an association that is established and they can, come in, schedule. And again, there's room for them because again, other people do rent our facilities as well.
For the neighborhood associations, how do you become an established neighborhood association? Is that through city structures?
I believe there's some paperwork that needs to go through. And then I believe, don't quote me on this because I said I'm still in my first month, but they do need to go in front, through the city clerk's office to file, what section and stuff like that. I can get you some more information on that if you like, just so you can know what the correct way for them to actually be recognized as a neighborhood association with the city.
Yeah, because that would be probably important to other community groups who maybe want to use the space for cost free as well, to know how to be formally recognized. But it would be recognized by the city, like the city clerk.
I believe.
I'm sorry to jump in, Chairperson Torres.
Yes.
This is Recording Secretary Sandoval. So we did have in the docket, we would have had Margarita Macedonia, who works with our neighborhood associations. She was scheduled to be here tonight. Unfortunately, she has felt ill. However, what we can do is we can definitely schedule her for the next meeting. And she does work really close with the neighborhood associations, and she would be able to give you more in-depth answers to your question as far as the neighborhood associations and how they're related to the city and how to become one.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Were there any other comments or questions on this? And then we need to decide what our next meeting will be, I believe. But let me make sure we're good on this agenda item. Okay, and then again, so we're still using an agenda building model where Mr. Sandoval will send out a request for agenda items for any of our folks in the committee. So the initial September meeting was scheduled for September 5th, but that's Labor Day. So we have to decide if we want to meet September 19th or October. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. Before we do go into that, there is one little item on the agenda for subcommittee member comments for anybody that would like to just make a comment before we do get to that point.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, go ahead. We can go. I'll start with Dr. Alvarez.
No comments.
Okay. Councilmember Hernandez.
No comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Thank you. No comments from me either.
Thank you. And then I just want to thank anybody in public who's taking the time to watch this today. This is only our second meeting, so we're still kind of getting used to the flow of this. So I appreciate anybody who's paying attention to this meeting today. So let's move on to the meeting time. So again, it would be September 19th or October 3rd. My suggestion is October 3rd because that's already calendared. And maybe skipping September, but if folks want to meet in September, I just need to calendar it quickly.
I support your direction for October 3rd. I'm not sure if it needs a second or if we need to vote on it, but if that's a motion, I'll second it.
Do we need a vote on this, Mr. Sandoval?
Yes, Chairperson Torres, we would need a vote in a roll call.
Okay, so I'll make the motion for October 3rd, and Councilmember Hernandez, you're gonna second it?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, and let's do roll call. Dr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
And then myself as a yes, so we are good to go for October 3rd. And then, I'm sorry, I have the agenda on my phone and it keeps clearing every 2 minutes. I think that is it for our business. We just have adjournment. So I think we're doing roll call. Do I need to make a motion? We don't use this process in the school board, so it's a little foreign to me. So do I need to make a motion or I just do roll call vote?
You can go ahead and do a roll call vote, Chairperson.
To adjourn? Okay,
Adjourn.
so we're gonna yay or nay to an adjournment. Dr. Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So this meeting is adjourned at 6:40. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.